Welcome to the subcontractor info session. Today we will be addressing what a subcontractor can do to be more appealing to a prime contractor. My name is Latasha Binder, and I'm the construction business specialist for the Construction Business Development Center, which is a technical assist agency for the Illinois Tollway. The Illinois Tollway Technical Assist Program is designed to prepare emerging and established transportation-related construction firms, including disadvantaged, minority and women-owned business enterprises, service-disabled, veteran-owned small businesses, and small businesses as a whole to participate on highway and vertical construction contracts. I'd like to take the time to introduce our speaker for this morning. I'm Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, Morayma, with William Charles Construction. William Charles is a leader in heavy civil construction, rail construction, asphalt paving, general contracting, environmental construction and remediation, and electrical contracting. And I will, I'm sorry, before I even mentioned Morayma, I actually wanted to give a few housekeeping rules. Everyone will be muted until the end of the presentation. At the end of the presentation, you will have an opportunity to ask questions, at which time please ask questions through the chat area, and we will filter them through to Morayma. So I am now going to give you the floor to talk with our participants about being a subcontractor. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for the invitation. Morayma DaSilva, William Charles Construction, as Latasha said, and I'm also here going to have the support of Tracy Fudge from William Charles too. She is the head of the purchasing and procurement department and works very closely with the estimating department. So it's always good to hear from the people that really pay attention to those bits. I will share my screen right now so I can go through the presentation. So the topic today that we're going to be talking is about what can a subcontractor do to be more appealing to a prime contractor. The first part that I wanted to talk about, since I know you guys are small businesses, is very important for me that you understand that as a GC, we're always looking for subcontractors, certified small businesses, DBEs, MBEs, WBEs that are in compliance with Code of Federal Regulation. That means that commercially useful function is the main key. That means that you as a subcontractor need to be certified, need to be independent, you need to be responsible for the management and supervision of the whole scope. You cannot have a non-DBE overseeing your job or basically bringing you in and using your certified status. You need to have full control of your crew. That means that if you're in a William Charles project, for instance, we shouldn't be telling you every single, my foreman and my superintendent shouldn't be the one running your job. And non-GC, we will supervise your job. We will tell you, of course, every morning what we expect you to do because there is a schedule and there are certain things that you have to do. But other than that, you should have full control of your project. Same thing, you have to pay your own employees. Nobody else should be paying your own employees. Own your equipment or lease your equipment. And if you're leasing equipment, you need to have your paperwork. If the Office of Federal Compliance or the Department of Justice, they go and do an audit or an investigation, inspection, I would say, on site, and they see, for instance, Martinez Underground is using Passion's equipment. That's a red flag because that means that you are using a non-DBE equipment, maybe employees to being able to do the job. That means that you might be giving them the full contract without the state knowing. So those are things that definitely will get you in trouble. Always notify the contractor in case you need to subcontract part of your scope of work to a non-DBE Otherwise, you can be deemed as being part of a DBE fraud. DBE certification, you know, keep it current, make sure all the information is there. Sometimes we go to the directory and we have the wrong phone numbers, maybe partners has changed and the information is not there. So make sure you have everything up to date. If you are working in different scope of work, make sure your certification is expanded, that you have added. Let's say you were doing trucking, but now you decided to do landscaping and you were doing irrigations, and make sure you go to your certified agency, show proof that you're doing different scopes so they can add that to your next code. Otherwise, when you're bidding a job, you might be bidding for the landscape side, and if I don't see, or Tracy doesn't see that your certification is showing that scope of work, we cannot use you. We can use you, but we will never get credit for what we're paying. So always make sure all the scope of work that you're doing in your company is certified by your certifying agencies. Equipment, we went through that. The equipment used by the DBE documentation is very important. If you are leasing, you have to, I normally ask my subcontractors to let us know so we are prepared in case, because I always tell our foremen and superintendents are my eyes on site. So you will let me know if, as I say, Tracy's Undergrounds is not using their own equipment and you're seeing the Regner Benson or Passion or Kiewit or someone else. DBEs cannot borrow equipment from a general contractor, because if we are inspected on site, it can be seen as we are using your certifications to get the job, but you are not doing anything. So that's why commercially useful function is the key. Same thing with materials. Estimating, when you are bidding the job, the estimator of, for instance, the GC estimator, our company, we will never tell you where to go and buy the materials, where to get. We can tell you if there are certain suppliers, sometimes based on the specs, there are certain suppliers that you need to go to. But other than that, we shouldn't tell you, go buy this one, do this negotiation, talk to these people. We can guide you, but you should be the one estimating, putting the number, negotiating, accepting the quality of the product, because at the end, your name is the one that's gonna be in the middle of the, if any issues in the problem, that's where you will have to be taken care of. Possession of materials, that's very important. If there are any suppliers here, it's very important that you take possession of the materials and then turn around and take it to the job. You cannot just make a phone call and send the materials directly on site, because what happens is the certifying agency doesn't see you as a supplier, but just as a pass-through. And that what happens is we will not get credit for the money that we pay, and we get in trouble. Next, bidding. The bidding process, I know that's one of the things that you are more worried about, and that's why Tracy's also here. And but it's very important that if you're trying, the main thing that you should do, take advantage of these networking events, reach out to the GCs, try to be pre-qualified in advance. So if you're new to the company, we need to ask questions. We need to know what manpower you have, what type of equipment. If you're a trucking company, we need to understand how many trucks do you have, what type of trucks. So when you're bidding the job, we can determine if we can use you or not. Size of the project. It's very important that we know what size of projects you can do, because you might be bidding $2 million project and you have never done it before. So we need to also know ongoing projects, because you might be able to do the $2 million project, but you already have 2 more ongoing, which means you might have some financial issues to pay more employees, more crew, you will have to get more equipment. So those are things that you should take into account before you submit your numbers. So when we pre-qualify you, we ask for that information in advance so we can determine if you can or cannot, after talking to you, if you can do it. Specs, you need to read the specs. Many people just put the numbers out there, they don't understand what is going on. We personally, as a company, we take the time. If you are coming too low, Tracy or the estimator, or sometimes I will help and call and say, can you review your number? I will never tell you you're too low or you are too high, because we are not allowed to negotiate with DBEs. Your number is your number. So we will never come back and tell you just lower your number or you're too cheap. But when we have numbers that are too low, that raise flags, because that means that maybe you didn't understand that there were 3 nights closure, which means you will need more mobilization, you will need more people, or their weekends, which means you need to pay overtime, and maybe you didn't understand that. So you need to read the specs. That's very important. When we send the specs, you always will see the master contract, and then you will have all the information about the insurance, the bonding, if you need to do certified payroll, if you need to present monthly reporting, you need to be prepared as a subcontractor and have a team, or at least you need to know that monthly you will be required to submit waivers and certify payroll weekly basis, certain reporting that the owner of the job may require. And what happens is that sometimes that might cause holding payment because you don't have your certified payroll ready. So those things you need to be prepared in advance, because the main thing you want is to have the money in your pocket, right? And again, the certifications and NAICS codes. When you read the specs, make sure you see the NAICS codes of the work scopes that you are planning to bid, and make sure those codes are in your certifications. Otherwise, we cannot use you. Quotes, we normally we need to have the quotes in letterhead. So when you send your numbers, I will show you some examples right now, but basically if you're saying, you're sending me your quotes and your messages, use your letterhead. Make sure your information is there, your phone numbers, add comments to it. When you have the DBE forms, make sure the forms are signed. They have all the information in the form, because if you send something last minute, and we might want to use you, but if the form is not complete correctly and you're already out of your office and you don't have the time to fix it, you will be out of the group of DBEs that we're gonna use to submit the bid. Time of submission, very important. Don't wait until the last minute, and more if you have never worked for a company before, because if the estimator doesn't know you, they will need to ask more questions. And if you are sending your number the day of the bid, believe me, even if you're very low, we might not use you, because the estimator doesn't know who you are. They need to ask questions. And for them, the last 5 hours, 6 hours are for the last minute putting number together, checking that everything is right. So don't even bother sending that number too late, because sometimes we might not be able to use you. It's not 100% guarantee that we will not. We might call you right away and say, okay, you're very low, I want to understand. But again, if we have a big team, if we don't have 5 bids going at the same time, we might be able to do that. And something that always request more information. Don't wait until the last day to request more information, because again, the team is busy putting a $20–30 million bid, and they don't have time to now be sitting for 30 minutes talking to an estimator. Do it 3 days before the bid, 4 days before the bid, a week. I will recommend you 2 weeks before the bid. Call, ask questions, read your specs, get ready, and that will let you succeed. And do not commit to a job you cannot do. We have situations where we have DBEs that we add to the project, and then in the middle of the project, they say, sorry, but this is too big for me. So this is a catastrophe for us. Of course, the DBE cannot get the job, but for us, now we have to turn around and start looking for DBEs all around to add them to the job. They might be more expensive. We start losing money. So, and what happened is, more likely we won't use you again, or we won't take you seriously the next time. Because if we ask you so many questions before and you say yes to everything, and at the end, when you saw the project in front of you, you say, sorry, but I'm not ready for it, then that's a problem. So be very honest, be crystal clear when you talk to the people in the company, because we can help you, we can guide you. So here are some examples of bid. This is what not to do. Like we have emails where it says, we will be willing to do the MBE percentage of the work on any of your jobs for the low, bid minus $1. They don't even send a quote. So what they're thinking is that I'm gonna call them and say, okay, you're gonna be always cheaper. So yes, I want you. That's a no-no, don't even bother to do that. This is one of the forms, this is a tollway form. I just wanted to let you know that, always pay attention to the information. DBE firm, you have to say if you're a subcontractor, if you're a trucker, if you're a supplier, if you're a manufacturer, make sure you have the pay items that they are from the specs. So you will have that information, you have the description of what you're doing. Sometimes you will see here, see attached, and then you add your quote. But make sure you have all the information, you have the signatures. It's very important that you sign. You never send a blank signed form because we won't put numbers on your behalf. You need to put the contact information and phone numbers so we can reach out to you. Always make sure all this information is completed. Here we have this as a good quote. Why this is a good quote? Because as you can see here, I don't know if it's too small and you cannot see it, but at least they put details, exclusions or details, comments about their quote. That's very important. They put, so they are subcontractors, they identify the items that they're gonna be quoting, the descriptions, the quantity, prices. So the contract information, sometimes they send us a quote, no contract information. So it might be a mistake. Maybe that subcontractor was bidding another different idle job. And by mistake, he sent it to us because when we are doing the lettings, there are many different projects and one sub might be bidding different projects. So make sure you specify your lettings, what projects you're trying to bid. This is another good quote. I have to remove the logo here, but to keep the information confidential. But this was a very good quote because as you can see, this is what you will attach to the form that I just show you here. Sometimes you will always write see attachment. So if you do see attachment, you attach your quote in a company letterhead, all your contact information should be here, all the items are here, and then your comments with that quote. That will let us understand what the pricing is, what you're talking, for instance, here, lane closures. So the estimators see that you understand what the job entails and that you are prepared to move forward with all that. This one is another one that is a good one because it has details here. Quote price didn't include bond. If required, costs will be added. So in this case, that will trigger us to call you, ask you questions. You're here telling me that the price is valid for 30 days. The traffic control is to be provided by others. So again, they identify the project, line items, the description of the job and the amount. So that's a good one. What to do if you get the job? That's the phase 2, right? So you went through the bidding process. Now you got the job. Now what? Read the contract. It's very important that you understand what you're signing. If you don't understand, pay a phone call. Like I support during the whole life of the project. When we are bidding, I'm involved during that part. So I'm making sure that we have DBEs, that we're meeting the goal, that we have the right people between Tracy and I. We decide who we are using. And of course, we send our recommendations to estimating and they decide. So once you get the job, you need to read your contract. Make sure you always have a signed contract before you go on site. Otherwise, we won't let you on site because we have insurance companies that if they find out we have a subcontractor on site without an executed contract, we get in trouble. Attend the pre-construction meetings. That's very important because you're going to get details from there. All the details about the job. you will be able to meet the project manager, you will be able to meet the superintendent. It's very important that you maintain communication with the superintendents. Always submit your invoices in time. We know you are busy. As a small business, you may not have a huge team, but definitely you need to be able to submit your invoices in order to get paid. We cannot submit an invoice on your behalf, and then when we get paid, turn around and tell you, here is your money, send me your invoice. You have to send me an invoice. Even though I know your job, your work, scope of work was done 2 months ago, I cannot request payment without an invoice from you. When you have change orders, always document everything. If someone asks you, if an IDOT engineer asks you directly, you need to add more material to this job or install more of these markers, make sure everything is documented, send an email, say following up with our conversation. This is what I understood you want me to do. So you always have everything documented for your change orders and keep track of all payments. So now I'm gonna let Tracy talk a little bit, again, more tips with regard to quoting, and then she's gonna talk very quick about this tollway job that we're gonna be bidding on the 24th that you might be interested to submit some quotes.
Well, thank you, Maura. You covered almost everything I want to talk about, so I'll just reiterate. My name is Tracy Fudge. I've worked for the William Charles companies for over 33 years. I started out as a flag girl way back in the 1900s, 1989. I am the procurement director and DBE coordinator, so I put together all the DBE plans when we're submitting for tollway, IDOT, other projects. So the upcoming bid that we have it bids on Tuesday, November 24th. It's for the Illinois Tollway. The bid number is RR199018. It's on I-88, located at milepost 51.6 to 56.07. It's the westbound and eastbound lanes, and the project is located in Lee County, Illinois. For this specific project, there's a 27% DBE and a 3% veteran goal, I believe. So we're counting on you guys to help us win this bid. The scopes of work are concrete repair, crack control, environmental testing. We have fencing, landscaping, QA/QC. We need rotomilling, sawing, striping, traffic control, and trucking on this excuse me, particular project. The head estimator on this project, his name is Daniel Callahan, and you can contact him via phone or email at 815-654-5960, or you can email estimating@williamcharlesconstruction.com for more information. So I'll talk a little bit about what we're expecting when you submit your quote. We would at least like your quote the 1 day in advance. So like Maura said, we have time to review, we can reach out to you. We would like you to note the following information on your quote. We need the FEIN number. We have to list that with bid, so we need that. Good contact name and phone number, and after hours phone number. We need an email address. You must list the pay item numbers, the description of the item, your unit pricing, and then put a total on the bottom so we can verify you meant to bid $10,000. We agree with you. Your unit prices all add up across and down. Like Maura said, we need the DBE form signed and your quote attached. We would also like, just for our files, and we try to submit with bid if we can get them, your DBE certifications. And I'll talk a little bit. The main problem we have is someone will send a quote for one lump sum, $20,000, and there's no scope review on there. So we have not really an understanding of what you're including in your quote. So I'll give you some examples of what people might put on a scope review. So they'll say this quote includes one mobilization. If additional mobs are needed, please add $500. This quote includes regular working hours, Monday through Friday, no nights or weekends. Flagging is included or not included, things like that. That's what we're expecting. And then if you're a trucking company and you're quoting trucking, we really need to send your hourly rates, a list of your fleet, the number of trucks that you own and the number of trucks that you lease to others. So that's basically it in a nutshell, what we're looking for this project and other projects going forward. Just be real specific with what you intend to include in your scope of work. That really helps later on. If you get the project, then you have negotiating power to say, no, I did not have this included. I'm not gonna, for example, I said, no, I'm not gonna do any supplemental watering for landscaping. Well, it says in the specs that they require it, but you had noted on your quote that you were not gonna include that. So then we agree with you, you're covered, and we're all happy.
So as you can see, the more details that you do, the better. When she said after hours phone number, she meant it. We call people at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, the day of the bid. So if you bid a job, have that cell phone right next to you. They might call you at 10:30 p.m. because the estimators normally sleep here the day of the bid, the night
Yeah.
of.
Yes, we have a cot that we sleep in. Sometimes I just sleep on the floor, but we're here all night. It takes a lot to put these bids together. So it's a big team and we really don't go to sleep.
Yeah, so that's, we wanted to bring you the real side of the bidding because you might think that we just pull numbers, put it together and that's it. So when we tell you we cannot accept numbers last minute, it's because we have been working overnight, putting the whole plan together, and we cannot disrupt those numbers just last minute. So I will open Natasha or Karina for questions.
Thank you for such great information. The chat area is now open for those who have questions. We will give you a few minutes to type them. And then myself and Karina will go through the chat area and filter them.
And also, I mean, if Paul, you or Karina has questions based on what subcontractors have asked you before, by all means, we can answer those too.
You can also reach out to me, Tracy Fudge, by email or phone number. And it's on the flyer here that you can see on your screen.
So our first question, do firms have to be union?
Yes, that's a great question. And I forgot to put for us. Yes, and I have to say that, and Tracy can also give more details, but that's one of the issues that we have with subcontractors that we want to help. And believe me, we have tried, we have put non-union subs, and then the union stops the job, put the big rats, and we have to get the subcontractor out, right? We have to tell them, sorry, but we cannot do this. Last year, I put together a networking event and I brought the unions, the laborers and operators union, to a networking event before COVID, when we were all normals and we could shake hands, right? And they explained how to be signatory per project. And I thought that was very interesting because you will be signatory by, let's say, this tollway job, and there is an actual fee that you pay. And so we can give you more information about that, or you as a technical assistant program, you should contact the unions, operators and labor and ask about that. Okay, Tracy?
Well, I would just like to say the tollway does not require you to be union to quote a project, but we as a company, it's a business decision and we need you to be union to work for us. So
yeah, because we are a union company, so we cannot use non-union subcontractors.
Thank you for that information and clarifying the difference between what Illinois Tollway is requesting and your business decision to utilize union firms.
Yeah.
So the next question is, do you have advice for people attempting to become material suppliers for these types of projects?
this is a good question.
Go ahead.
You want to go more or you want me to?
Well, I would love from my legal standpoint, when you want to be, something that we have encountered with material suppliers is that they take it very lightly and they think that is the best route to be a DBE and get use on jobs. And again, you need to always take possession of the materials. You need to have a warehouse. You need to have contact with all the distributors. So it's not just a matter of being a supplier, but reading the Code of Federal Regulation and what that entails under the law to be a DBE or a small business supplier. Tracy?
Yes, and you must manage your submittals. You need to do all your paperwork. You have to have the material land in your yard, and you are responsible for delivery to the job site. You can't just order from your supplier and have it delivered directly to the project. You must take possession of the materials in order to get credit for a DBE supplier.
It's very good information to know. Thank you. Next question is, can you speak to your pay schedules and retainage?
Typically, we have a 10% retainage. We pay when paid, so when we get paid by the tollway, we are required by law to pay you. I'm not sure what the terms are, but as soon as we get paid for the item, you will get paid as soon as possible. And I don't know exactly the time restrictions, but it's pay when paid.
So yes, every contract, and that's what I say, always read your contract, because we read the contract, and we pay when pay, and the Prompt Payment Act and the provision in the contract might call for 10 days, 14 days, 15 days. So every owner is different. Tollway, I think, is 14 days after we get paid. So that's what I always say, have your invoice ready, because in order for you to get paid, we have to submit request of payment. So when we submit the request of payment, we gather all the invoices from our subs, we turn around, we go to Tollway, we say we need to be paid $1 million, and then we detail who is gonna be paid under that pay app. We get the money, and then we pay our subs. Always have the waivers ready, because we need to exchange waivers. So that's something that sometimes the subcontractors are not used to, but we need to exchange waivers. I give you the check, you give me the waiver.
Thank you. And we will take just one last question, and this one pertains to unions as well. So does the single project labor agreement pertain to the Rockford area only, as it appears not to be the case in Chicago?
Yes, I say that every union is different. When I had here the local 32 and of course operators 150, and they were talking to the attendees at that time about how to be signatory, but I believe is every union have their different way to do it. So you will have to approach the unions and ask.
That is great information. Thank you, Morayma. Thank you, Tracy, for presenting the information to us this morning. There is contact information that will be shared with our viewers, as well as contact information on how to reach out to the Construction Business Development Center. Again, I am the Construction Business Specialist for the Rockford area, and my name is Latasha Binder. Expect to see an email following the presentation in the next coming days, should there be any additional questions. Thank you all.
Thanks, Latasha. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. With that, our presentation is concluded.